Hello there, this is Matt Walsh out here in Hollywood, and you are watching The Hole.
Welcome to The Hole.
Welcome to The Hole. I am Rob Sprantz.
And I'm Lori.
And we are joined by, just the records behind you, gold records, platinum records. Dennis DeYoung, founder of Styx. I am a huge fan. Huge. And this was something that I was looking forward to, but in typical fashion, we were about to do the show. We were all set. And a tree hit my house and the power went out during the storm. And Dennis was stuck all alone by himself without us. So we're glad we could finally get this going, Dennis.
Welcome to the Hole podcast. Oh, it's the Hole.
So I'm looking at all these records. Let's just sum this up for
Wait, this is the Hall of Ghosts, right? Isn't that what you call it?
Oh, Lori. Don't do your homework, Lori, because it's going to scare me. There you go. Oh, my God.
That's crazy.
Hold on. You know, I've never done that before, and you're the first, so.
I feel like I'm a pioneer. So Dennis basically panned the room. And of course, you can go to theholepodcast.com and watch us on video. I don't recommend just audio, especially for how handsome and charismatic Dennis has always been through his career. He's continuing now.
I'm not going to disagree with him, Lori.
No, me neither.
Here's some summaries. Just off the top, 15 top 40 songs, right? Am I right on that? 15, I think.
But I'll look it up. I'll Google it.
8 top 10 and a number 1 hit. And this is in the era where to buy a record, you had to go buy a fucking record. Like you didn't just click a button and then you bought it. Like people had to go to a store and buy these records. So to sell that many and to be that, it's incredible. You must, do you ever look back on it and just be like, I can't believe that happened?
Well, first of all, today, here's what you hit on something really important to talk about. Back then, and the minute an old person says that, I think you should leave the room. But back then, music was focal to all young people's lives. How old are you, Rob? In your 50s? What?
I'm 50. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go. And you know that everybody waited for the next record to come out, and people would buy them, take them home, and look at them, and read them, and immerse themselves. Because there weren't the distractions that young people have today in society at large, which is like this thing we're doing right here. This is incomprehensible that you could suddenly decide you were a broadcaster and get a thing, boom, Dennis DeYoung sitting there. Not possible. Everything was more cloaked in mystery. So here's the deal. Did you ever buy an album, Rob, Lori?
Of course.
And you got it home and you hated it, except one song that you liked, and then you looked at it and you said, "I probably should throw this away." You never would throw it away. You'd take it and you'd store it with all the albums, but you couldn't throw it away. But today, here's the difference. It's not real. Most of the music people consumes is through the internet. So if they download a song or if they're streaming it, if they don't want it anymore, they just go hit delete. That's the easiest thing in the world because you don't have an actual object in your hand that you paid money for. And you're not going to walk it to the garbage can and throw it away. You won't. You'll still go in your collection and find, God, I hated that album. Why do I still have it? Because it was real. And because music has now become more ephemeral, it makes it more disposable. It's easier to throw something away that you never really had in your hand. This is, in fact, the most important element, I think, when you look at the music scene in general. Music is too easily disposed of and consumed. Now, it's been a windfall for consumers. You can go online, every song ever recorded by every mook and every idiot in the world is there for you to judge. In the old days, you saved that money, baby, to get that record.
To buy the one you wanted.
It had tremendous meaning to you in every way. And so now music is disposable and people treat it as such. And here's my last thought on the internet. We were so admired and looked up to by young people when we were doing this music. And remember, for most of the people that I was making the music for, they didn't realize, but I was 10 years older than they were. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And, you know, they put us on this pedestal so they could look up our satin pants. No, so they put us on this and really, it was because there was no place. What were they going to do? It was music. There was no internet. And it was, I lived at the greatest time in the history of mankind to be a musician. Never before and never after will so many musicians have the opportunities that I had. I was lucky by birth. And that's why I'm still here talking to you, because everybody was looking at me at that moment in time. And a lot of those people grew up. And as we all know, the music that people listen to between the ages of 10 and 20 stays with them for a lifetime. So that's my luck. And I'm very lucky not to have been born in this generation where all the 15-year-olds who would normally be looking and thinking about me are watching porn. You got a
place for that,
15-year-old male. He's Styx or porn. I'm done.
Well, now, so you just released this year. You released 26 East Volume 1, which is a great record, and we'll definitely get into that for sure. But that's how for the most part, that's how you're releasing it. It's digitally, correct?
Our CDs, there's vinyl on this as well. It's beautiful. I forgot, I have a record collection right over here. You can't see it. And it's small. And turns out I had fans send me copies of my own records, Styx records, because I don't have any. Because I would give them to everybody thinking, well, they'll always exist. Not true. So, it's on vinyl. It's beautiful on vinyl. I looked at it and went, for me, I made a decision along with the the world public that said this: we'll trade convenience over quality any day of the week. That's what they said about music. They said, I want to be able to listen. I want something in my palm, even when I'm in the toilet, to entertain me and distract me. They made that decision. We don't care that the music doesn't sound quite as good that way. And so for me, I decided, people said, do you play your album? No, I don't have a turntable. I'm going to be the one that says, yeah, fine. What, am I stupid? That's idiotic. So I looked at the album. It looks beautiful. Like, open it up, and there's the thing in the picture, and you read. But the public at large is happy to have the thing in their hand. And so, yes, it's on DVD. What is it called? CD. Got to keep track of this stuff because it'll be gone in 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
And vinyl, as well as, you press a button and there he is.
That's good too, because a lot of the people who are buying this record are fans of you for a long time, who have the other albums and knew what that experience was to go to a store. And you know what? Sometimes you don't even know what you're buying. The album art would be like, you know what? This looks kind of cool. Let me check out what this is. And you don't even know. I bought Steely Dan's Asia on that. So I got lucky. I picked a lucky one based on the cover. But that's kind of what happens is now you don't have any of that. But I got to think all of the fans, especially of you. And when I listened to this album, I was thinking to myself, it's so funny because, if you see, Picasso had so many paintings, right? And any one of his paintings you look at, you instantly know it's a Picasso, but they're all incredibly different. And that goes with pretty much any artist. The second I play this, it's you. It is clearly you. Your stamp is all over it. The songwriting stamp is all over it. The production, the sound. This could be a Styx album easily, without a doubt. It has all of those things, but at the same time, it kind of, you're telling stories and you're talking about things that are affecting you today. So it's kind of cool. It's like we got another Styx album, but I don't want to just say you're responsible for everything, because I know a whole band is, and there's a lot to it. But you played a big part in that. You really did, and it's hard to ignore that when you listen to this album.
Thanks. I had to be talked into doing this by Jim Peterick. Jim Peterick's my neighbor. He lives 3 blocks away from me, and that's why I live in a gated community, because who needs that? But so he was on me for a couple of years to make one more record, and he's on Frontiers Records, which is the label that this record is on, and the president had offered me an opportunity to make a studio album in 2015 or 16, I can't remember. And I said, Serafino, why would I do that? Why would I make a brand new record? I mean, look, my fan base, classic rock people, they have made a real choice, the vast majority of them. They want the music they heard when they were 16, and they could still fit into those jeans and those T-shirts that they can't fit into anymore. That's it. That's what. If you try to play them a new song, they'll patronize you. A very small percentage will say to you, "Oh, please, new music." That's like 20-25%. The rest, they've moved on, and I'm happy to service them. I go around the country and play 70 shows a year. Plays my band, the music of Styx. But really, so I thought, rock is dead, guys. You know this. Rock music, not just I'm not talking about the music itself, but the outlet for people to deal with rock music, which was essentially the radio, kaput. It's gone, not coming back. That's just the way it is. So if you make a record, which I never made for the money, that's the doggone honest truth. I was more how can I put this? I was crazier than that. I was looking for love from strangers. I just like you guys. I'm looking at you, Rob and Laura. You're sitting there in front of these microphones, and you're telling the world at large, "Hey, look at me. I'm special." That's what you're doing, and that's what I did as a young man. I jumped up above the crowd and waved my arms and said, "Hey, everybody love me because I need love. I don't feel loved enough. You pathetic thing, you." Anyway. That's why we do it. And you do it, Laurie and Rob, because you're trying to please somebody who's pretty hard to please, maybe impossible to please. And I suggest it's your mom or dad. You figure it out. Go talk to your shrink. With me, it was my mom. I wanted to please her. So when I was a kid at 7, I started taking accordion lessons because I knew my neighbor, Georgie Rosinski. He played the accordion. He was like 12, and I was 7. And when he played that thing, it was the 50s. My accordion. My mother's eyes lit up, and so that's what we're trying to do. Rob, is it working? Laurie, are you pleasing him yet? I don't know. That's what all human beings do.
Sure, right?
We ambitious ones, the ones that do this, and now with the internet, everybody's doing this, and no one wants to look at anybody because everybody is now a star.
But the difference, I think, is you have the talent as well. Like, you probably played the accordion really well. That's why her eyes lit up.
Let me just tell you this. I wouldn't be the success I have been. You see this stuff behind me now? It's in close-up. Okay, I owe that to my mom because she always expected the best, perfection at all times from me and everybody around her. It wasn't just me. I was the firstborn son in an Italian family. So, hey, mom. So a lot of that pressure was on. But as my aunt told me in later years, you thank your mom, Dennis, because you've been a success because, and it's true. I don't think there would be half of the successes, and probably more, maybe none, if there weren't people like us who really strive to be the best we can at all times.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. At the same time, you do have to have. You have to be a little narcissistic to do any of these type of things. Like to think I can get on stage in front of tons of people, to have that in your head, it's part of what drives you. There are plenty of people who have tons of talent, but can't go to that next step. Like, they can play any instrument. They're fantastic in their bedroom, but that's where they're going to remain. Because you do have to have a little pinch of ego. You do have to have a little pinch of confidence to think you can do this. I mean, we're going to get into all the records, but you can see that Styx as a band, you wouldn't just allow it to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You wanted to get bigger and grander and bigger with every tour and every album and the concepts and everything that goes with that. There are plenty of bands who have a hit and they're like, especially now, we're just going to just keep doing that, forever. And it's weird because it's almost a cycle back to how it was in the 50s. In the 50s, you came out with a hit. they said, make another one just like that. Only, you can hear it when you listen to, I love Buddy Holly, fantastic writer. A lot of the songs have the similar production. It's like someone told him, make another one of this song, make another one of that. And they had no say and no choice at the time. So they would do that. So you have to have some kind of drive and ego to want to take it to the next level for every album and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And you didn't seem like you were happy to just let it just be what it was, no matter how big the engine was churning at that time. No?
Well, a lot of questions there. First of all, narcissism has been given such a bad name recently. I don't even want to like that. I don't even like the term anymore, but let me tell you who you are. Are you ready for this? You don't expect this?
I'm ready.
Even though we go out there, when I walk on the stage, that belongs to me. I know it. However, all of us are, my opinion is all of us are equal parts ego and equal parts insecurity. That's what I think. I think we go out there and we pretend we are the grand illusion, Rob. We are the grand illusion. And I told the audience that in 1977, don't look up here and think that I know everything. I'm telling you, a few years ago, I was sitting out there in the 14th row. So my opinion is ego is such a, I don't know, it's such a tricky word because it implies something to most people. But belief in self is always married to the fact that I suck. That's it. Yeah. Married to the fact that we will have anxiety about our real talent. And a real narcissist, as we've seen, right, they can't delineate between the two. But for most of us, it is a battle. Every morning when you get up, Rob, you think to yourself, well, I'm going to try to do my best so I can be the best. Always knowing somehow. And let me just take a perfect example. When YouTube was first invented and all these old things started popping up from like 40, 50 years, I thought, oh God, I am going to be so depressed to look at myself and judge myself and say, how did anybody ever buy any of my albums? This was the thought in my mind. This is the insecurity side. And then they all started popping up and I started looking at these performances, so many of which I was convinced I was not any good. I was very good. But you couldn't convince me at the time that what I was doing wasn't shite. That's what I felt. And this is the artist. He has to believe. He has to conjure the bluster, right? Or the ego to go out there and lay himself on the altar of judgment by strangers. Judge me. Who the hell are you to judge me? I've given you permission. This is the problem.
It's so true. It's so true. And
so now to answer your question about doing, it was a long question, and you're very well. Lori, did you notice? Rob, he's not a dummy.
No, I've known him for 10, 12 years. So yeah. I'll agree.
She knows the dummy.
Is he nice to you often?
No.
Such a lie.
Ask for a raise. Anyway, I asked Jody, I said, how much am I getting today? And she said, nothing. I said, well, tell them I'll do it if they double it. Anyway. I see, here's the thing. The only joy I really get is not performing. I know I was in a band with guys who lived to be on the stage. And to them, that's when they feel the most alive and most coupled. Not me. No. The reason I would do any of this is simple. When I'm sitting down at the piano and I'm trying to write something, because I know my piano has got a lot of really good songs in it. I sit there long enough to find out where they are. So when I sit there and I hit something that I know isn't just journeyman craft-like, because I know how to write songs. I get something. I just did it yesterday, and I'm working on it right now. And for this volume 2, I have to complete. So I went, oh God, there's such a joy with the moment of creation when you really believe you've done something. that for you is special. And that's the reason to do it. Everything after that is drudgery, fraught with failure and disappointment. Now watch, you write it. The next thing you have to do is arrange it, get the right cats to play it when you're in a band. You don't have to do that. Bring it in. You want their input. How can they make it better? Okay, there's plenty of room to be disappointed or overjoyed. Can go either way. Then you got to make a record. That's hard. You know, a lot of great songs are ruined by making records out of them. And then if you make the record, you got to give it to a stupid record company. Then the record company makes a judgment on it, whether they think it's worthy of promotion. And then it finally goes to the radio and then to the public. And so, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that whole process becomes like, what happened in that moment of joy I had when I did it? And then you go out and you play it. Fortunately, like me, I get to play these songs I wrote in 1970. Well, it was 1917, most of them. But you see what I'm saying? And I go out there and I'll play Come Sail Away and I'll play, well, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And those aren't my songs anymore. Those are your songs. I wrote them, but the joy is in your heart. The joy for me is gone. It went a long time ago. Not you know what I mean? The residual checks keep coming. That's a different thing. But that moment when that was so special, it's like, you know what it's like? Remember your first kiss, your first love? That moment you go, anything's possible and I can go to the moon. That's going to pass. And then you think, well, I'm glad other people still love this stuff.
Yeah, wow. So when you look back on all of these, is it, I mean, you've done them so many times, so I guess that plays a part in it, the repetition, and that you've done it so many times. And so it's, you know, you described this a situation very similar to like Brian Wilson, where Brian Wilson just loved to sit down and create and write and produce things. Not so much all of the other stuff that went with it. But if that's the case, seeing you on stage, you would not know that. You're a very dynamic person on stage. Like your full personality came out all for everything. It wasn't just let me sit down and play. Like you were you to the crowd, just like you're you to us right now. There's no difference there.
I am the grand illusion.
Go.
Do so. I am the grand illusion. I go on stage and I know this. People have figured out ways to spend money, get in their cars or whatever they got to get into, and come and see me because they have the expectation of leaving happy. Because in the universe, as we know now, happiness, joy in the moment is in short supply. Yeah, it's incumbent upon me to walk out there and give everything I have in that moment and that night. And they can't know, I can't let on what miseries, difficulties, or anything I have in my life. I want to create the illusion that there's a oneness between us that when we go out there. And Styx always represented that band. Go back and watch the 1996 Return to Paradise Theater Tour. It's on YouTube for nothing. Okay, it's got over 4 million views. A live concert. Watch it. Those guys, those characters, those mooks, those mamalukes, those chadruls, when they walked out on that stage, they gave you something. And you know what I mean? And it wasn't beanbag. It was real. We made it real in that 2 hours we spent on stage. And that's what I owe you and everybody. They don't want to know. Oh, Jesus Christ, what is that? No. They want to know that they can be swept away and taken to that place that they believe was one of the happiest times of their life.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it really is. But at the same time, doesn't that reciprocate? Don't those 2 hours even now help you forget all the miseries and everything else that's with it too? When you're up there and you're getting the love from them, you're giving it back, and you're feeling like that just seems like it's got to be such a hard thing to walk away from. I don't know. And that's why I can see why you're still doing it. No, it doesn't seem like you're mine. No,
there are those. I know Jim Peterick, my buddy, Tommy and JY, they really and truly, I'm jealous. They truly get what it is you're describing when they're out on that stage. For me, I'm so screwed up that performing is always a contest for me to be perfect. Okay. There's a joyless experience. You know, if perfection is your goal, you have come to the wrong planet. So when I go out there, I'm always, McCartney just said this recently. I didn't even know that. You know, I love him. And he said, Paul, what do you think when 50,000 people are screaming? He said these words, "This is me." Although he loves to perform, that's obvious.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey man, I'm thinking about the next note I have to sing, the next note I have to play. Don't goof it up." That's what I go through. And I think, you know, as much, I hear the applause and I know they really appreciate, and people call it love, and I appreciate that as well, the music I've been involved in. But for me, here it is. I've been married to my wife for 50 years, and I have 2 children. And with all that brings, because these are human beings now, they're not perfectly modeled pieces of clay sitting on a shelf. That's love to me. Okay. And so when people applaud, I see it more as genuine appreciation for what it is I have given them through my music.
Mm-hmm. Makes total sense. But also, you didn't help yourself by writing really intricate parts for you to play either. It didn't help. It really didn't help.
I lived in the era of 2 things. How high can you sing? And I blame Robert Plant and the Beatles. They started all that bullshit. And so I know in the beginning it was a contest to see who could sing. And so I actually altered my voice so I could sound higher. I kept all my sound up into my nose and my forehead, never letting it drop down, because I have the ability, as you probably know, to sound pretty legitimate as a singer if I choose to be. But that isn't really what rock and roll singing is about. So I had to really stylize my voice. And then after a point, I said, screw it, I'm just going to sing like myself. I'm a better singer when I sing naturally, but you're not going to convince people when I sang high and nasally that wasn't just a cat's meow. It was to them. So, you know, they liked it. I guess it's good. But, you know, for me, we had to sing high, had to write our own songs. And for me, it was always, the interesting thing was, what's the next challenge? We've talked about not just what we did last week, but what's next? And so at a certain point, 8 albums in, I started to say, can we do something different? I mean, you know, I'm glad people like what we do, but let's see if we can find other ways to entertain ourselves. So that's what I did. But, you know, that singing high and playing all the notes you can, because we formed as a band in 1970, right at the beginning of art rock, prog rock, whatever you want to call it. We were never a prog rock band. Never, ever. We were a hybrid. You know, we were an American rock and roll band who could fake English accents, which is what I did. And you listen to me talk here now, I don't talk like that or sing like that. So, but I admired all the English bands, starting with the Beatles. And so I did a fake English accent, and I don't know why. I do know why. You know, did the Beatles try to sound like Americans?
No.
Yes, they did. They didn't sound like they were English, and that's because they love American rock stars. I love the English rock stars. So anyway, you got to go in there. Well, look at all the notes he can play. Okay, sing as high as you can, play all the notes you can, and wear tight satin pants.
Well, I hope you're still wearing them. At least. No,
I'm no tight pants. No, thank you. In fact, this morning, did I tell you what happened? I didn't. My wet pants stormed into my bedroom and demanded that I finally wash them. And the thing is, my wife, God bless her, she was 15 when I met her. I was 52. No, I was.
Oh, Jerry Lee Lewis. I didn't even realize who I was talking to.
You guys met in high school, right?
Right. And listen, the first person I wanted to be was Jerry Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
You know that? I wanted to be Jerry Lewis when I was a kid. Lady, I'm going, lady, pretty, never.
Don't ever do that. You're going to ruin the song.
So anyway, I don't know what the hell I was saying, but my wife.
Your wife, Suzanne.
We've been in this house now because, I'm 73 years old, for God's sakes. I know I don't look a day over 75, but I'm 73, she's 71. And very careful, and she says, we want all this time, Lori, she wants a 6-foot distancing between us in the house.
From you?
And she said it's never been better. I don't.
I don't think you're doing quarantine right. Do you go out? If you don't go out, then what's the big deal?
No, I go to the grocery store and buy food. We've been to the doctors twice, and so otherwise I have not literally done anything. Nothing at all. Now, the good news is for me, because I'm stuck in this house, and otherwise I'd be on tour for this new album. I had some fans say, Dennis, why don't you sing us a song? Because we need your music now more than ever. Do one of those things that all those needy musicians do on YouTube. And Jesus Christ. So on a lark, this is true because I'm a dumbass. I put this iPad, I put it on my piano, and I did Best of Times because people mentioned to me that when people lock their doors and hide inside, blah, blah, blah. I thought, well, okay. So I did it, and 1,140,000 views in about 6 weeks. And let me tell you, kids, that doesn't happen to me. And it trended, whatever the hell that means. And I kept watching it. It was just like the numbers were like that. I kept going, oh, that's a mistake. But it wasn't. It struck a chord. It's lightning in a bottle. I couldn't duplicate it. I tried. Well, show me the way. It got, what is it, 100 and, I don't know, over 100,000 views. It was still good. But it was like something about Best of Times and that era in 1981. It connected with people on such a fundamental need. Their need, remember, guys, not mine. And I've had friends who would call me and I'd say, because I look at it once again and I go, piano's not a tune. He looks old. Why did he look like that? Why did I put those glasses? You're going like that, and I think I sang it nice. It was good, and but yeah, I didn't go. Oh my God, this will go down in history. So I keep asking people who like it. I said, what? Oh, explain it to me, because I don't get it. And some people, the grown adults, a lot of people on the internet, I don't know. Oh my God, I cried. And I cried and blah, blah, blah. And you know what I thought to myself? Sure. Because like I told you guys, you kids, this is not my music. This is your music. What happened in that song to make people cry, it was you. It wasn't me.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that a little bit because there's a few things when I saw it, and that video is the catalyst as to why I invited you to begin with. Because I saw it, and it's an emotional feeling that you get because you remember the song, but also, you're putting heart into it when you're playing it. Even if you're not, it comes across as you are. And the fact that you've chosen the song right away, the people who know that song understand the message you're trying to convey. And it says to us, okay, here I am, some guy, halfway across the country. Dennis DeYoung from Styx is going through this too. This person is going through this too. It's not just us and, all these other people that, that we grew up with are still having the time of their lives. He's going through it too. So I think that played a part in it. It did. And it's, you sang it wonderfully. You played it wonderfully. You, as a musician, of course, you're going to nitpick every little thing, but that doesn't come across. It just comes across that you were sending a message to all of us. Hey, I'm still here. Hey, I'm going through this too. And let's, for a few minutes, go to that place where I take you when you come see me. Let's, for a few minutes, go to that time when you weren't so nervous or upset. And
and that he's on an iPad as well. It's not a big production.
Right. It was very organic. It's a great point, Laurie. It was very organic. It was just, here I am. I'm going through the same thing as you. Let's spend a few minutes together and remind ourselves that we're going to be okay. And the song was a great choice, but that played a big part in it, Dennis. It really did.
Well, the Sunday, it was posted on a Saturday, and the Sunday, it already had 300,000 views. 300,000 views. Yeah. But the comments, there's like 9,000 comments, and I started to read them. And I started to tear up because I thought, what did I do in my life that deserves that kind of response from me? Because I could, this is not false humility. I want you to go back some night. You got nothing to do? You start reading those comments and put your name in there instead of mine. Yeah. And when people say that about you, you think, oh dear, oh my, you know, what did I do to deserve that? And, you know, I don't need you to, I'm not fishing, so don't come back with it's just simply like, oh, what? So, yeah, I mean, it was emotionally overwhelming to me, and but I got over it, and now I'm very happy. So, you know, but you know what? That video, I just leaned in. It's just like this, you know, and I just played and sang. And I thought, it's like, you know, it's like women getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to go and let millions look at me without my makeup on. Right. That's what it felt like to me. Mm-hmm. But I did it because I just did. So the pandemic has been a career boost to me. I hate to say that because I've been forced to stay home. I've done so many of these things we're doing, kids. I thank you for having me on, but I've done so many of them. And I know if I was on and the album came on, I did so many radio interviews about my album that were just, you know, I was in Styx. I was the 70s mainstream rock band. And critics never said nice things about us. They weren't horrible to us. Some were, but you know, the reviews on this record, 26 East, I don't know what the hell it was like. Suddenly somebody opened a window and all the fresh air came in, and there I was. The reviews are remarkable. And if I was on the road touring, I would have not been able to do as much talking and interviewing as I did because of the pandemic. Because when you get this age, I can still sing, but you can't talk all day and sing all night. You can't do that.
Right. Especially
so in some ways, you know, I've had an opportunity to talk to people about my album. And look, it was wildly encouraging because Jim Peterick nagged me true to do this one last record. I didn't want to, but I thank him, you know, for forcing me to do it. I got an opportunity to say goodbye to the fans. Thanks. Look at the life you've given me and my family. And so, you know, I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah. And, you know, you also, by calling it Volume 1, now you don't have an out. Now you have to do another one. But, you know, at the end, and I'm not going to ruin this for anyone who hasn't listened to the album yet, but there, you know, I want to talk about some of these songs. But at the end, there's a track called AD 2020, right? And it was such a smart, whether you intended it or not, it was just such a smart thing to do because, you know, I got goosebumps the second it started, and it's, you know, no different than watching your video or whatever it is. You know, when you did that, and I don't want to ruin it because I want people to get that same experience when they get to the end of the record. But it was such an emotional thing to hear that. And I was like, wow, this is just so perfect. What a great way to put a bow on this. But it's also kind of you saying that you're not done. It kind of feels like you're not done. It's almost like, you know, like, I don't know, like you're still, part of you is still in that time from the, you know, 70s and 80s in a weird way. I mean, I know everybody interprets it differently, but that's how.
Yeah,
I
well,
see
yeah, the 70s. I'm in my 70s. But here's the thing. When I began the record, I started writing with Jim, and I said, "Oh, I know how it's going to end." That was my first thought. I said, "That's going to end this record, and this is it. I don't want to do no more. Let me out of this." You know, I feel like Michael Corleone. Ready to get out. Pull me. So, and then we did, because I didn't want to, you know, this was a concept album originally, Rob, and the concept was "Don't Suck." That was it. Don't. There was no other concept. So we wrote, Jim and I wrote 18 songs because I wanted to have 10 really good songs. So we overwrote, and then the president of the record company said, we delivered the album. He said, "What about all these other songs?" And I said, nothing. And they said, "We want them all." I said, "Well, you can't put them on one." He says, he said the magic words. Here's what he said, Spranson Levine. "We'll double the money if you money." Not a math major. So we had another 7 songs, 7.5 songs written, recorded, that we thought, well, we're going to go with these. No, I take that back. Back up. We had all 18, and then we went to them, and that's when they said, before we figured out how to put the songs on 2 records, they said, "We want them all." I said, "Can't do it, dude." So he said, "Make 2. Then I looked at the songs and figured out I got to pace them. I can't put everything good on one and have 2 go. Why did he do that? He was on the court an hour too long. So I put 1 together. And so now we got 7 recorded, mixed, done. And I'm writing 2 or 3 more. And then that's it. But I ain't coming back. I like you. You seem like nice people. But no, I just don't want to do it.
It makes sense. I get it.
You know, the music you're listening to, it sounds like Styx, sounds like you. It's got you all the way. That's because I did everything. I wrote it with Jim, and, you know, and then I engineered a lot of it, produced it. Then I mixed the whole thing by myself in this room, myself, just me. And you know what I think? I'm 73. I don't have to work that hard anymore.
Yeah.
And
No, you
so keep doing it. It's too. Look, if I knew that I released this record, and even 100,000 people, not millions, would buy it, I'll do it. But for the people, don't have to buy it anymore, Rob.
Right.
They don't have to. And their interest level, as I've told you, it's best of times, isn't it?
Man.
It's best of times. So that's the I'm facing the reality of no record business to speak of, specifically no rock and roll record business. There's plenty for pop and rap and country. Rock, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. White kids have decided, does this sound racist? It's not. White kids have decided if they want to rebel, they're going to listen to rap.
Right.
We need to listen to rock. That's music from old people. That's, by and large. So I don't want to do all this work and not have the chance to connect and communicate. Does that seem fair to you? Lori, weigh in here. Is that fair?
No, it seems it definitely, you make a big point. But there is such an audience for what you're doing. I mean, I don't think that you're going to get the 15-year-olds. That's they have a whole different vision of what music should be right now. But you have people that love you and love Styx, they're so devoted.
I think it's 50 people in Passaic, but I'm not sure. You see what I'm saying?
It's 54 now, I think.
Well,
after this interview, it'll go down to 30.
Probably 26.
Here's the thing. You can't even get their attention. They have lives, these people in their 50s. My audience is 48 to 65, 66. That's the core. And so they got things. They got things to do. They're not, they're not going, "Oh, why, Dennis? When's Dennis? I need this. No. So what I'm trying to articulate, it maybe sounds, I don't know, selfish, but no, it's too much work. And it's not, I don't need money. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot. I don't need it. So it couldn't be listen, the first time I heard my song on the radio, oh dear, I thought, I'm on the radio with my heroes, the Beatles. I'm there. I'm one of those guys. And that was
where were you when you heard your first song on the radio?
First, I couldn't tell you the first song on a radio. I can tell you the night I watched the Beatles.
No, when you first heard your song on the radio, you don't remember where you were?
Oh yeah, I was in my car.
Was it Best Thing? Was that the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Best Thing. And I thought to myself, Rob, he's so good. Best Thing. Boom. He didn't say Rising. Best Thing. It was Best Thing. And I thought, oh my God, I'm on the radio. And you get like, right now, I just got the goosebumps thinking about it, because it's like, that doesn't happen to everybody who makes records. It happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
But are you in Chicago?
Oh, I still live in Chicago.
No, when you heard that though, are you home in Chicago? Are your parents around you?
When I heard that, I was living in, let me get the dates right. I thought I was in my driveway. I was in my driveway in Park Forest. I had moved, I got married, had a little girl, because I had a girl and a wife before I had a record deal. And I was a school teacher. And so we were living in the suburbs, and I was sitting in my car listening, because they said they were going to play it. It was an FM station in town, because FM was just coming in, and they would play new music. And they played Best Thing. And I went, oh dear, now what?
You're like, I'm not going to be a teacher anymore.
Oh, I'd already, we recorded the first album. Chuck and I were still teachers. He was an art teacher. I was a music teacher, and I was in junior high. And we recorded that album at night while I worked. And then we quit after, June semester. We quit and said we're going to devote full time to the band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you say what's next, but what comes next is probably something I don't even think you expected, because you guys do Styx 2, and the next single is Lady, which is what put you guys, I gotta say, went from, people started to know who you were to everyone knew that song. I mean, it went up to number 6. Do you, when you're writing that song, so now you already have one on the radio, so that second album must be a different mindset, or do you try not to think about it? Do you try not to be better? Do you try not to say, well, this one did well, we have to do better than that? Because the pressure's got to be insane, especially after Lady, but just in writing that and Styx 2, what's your mindset going into it? Is it just having fun and writing music at that point, and it just happened that way? Or like, how did that work?
I think the minute you sign a record deal, that's the end of fun.
Yeah.
Because it's business, Jack. You have to sell a certain amount so the record company doesn't drop you. Well, our first album didn't really sell anything. And then Styx 2, you have to remember, on Styx 1, I wasn't a songwriter when we first started making records. We were in a cover band. I'm very good at, imitating other people. And so on Styx 1, I didn't write any songs by myself. I had a co-write on Best Thing and a co-write on Mother Nature's Matinee, Jay Wyatt, and I wrote those songs together. I wasn't a songwriter. Styx 2 comes up, and I wrote 5 of the 7 songs, and Lady was one of them. So, and it was released, and it was a stiff.
Really?
It was a complete failure. It was January 1973. A failure of epic proportions. It did worse than the first album, and Lady never got played anywhere. You probably didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Oh, didn't? So
Nope.
we recorded. We had
Keep in mind, I'm 5 at the time, so let's put it in a little perspective.
you were 2 years old, and you were, you were still pooping in your pants. So, we had a 4-album deal, and the next album we did was a thing called Serpent is Rising, and because the Styx 2 record with Lady on it, which is basically my record, 5 of the 7 songs, it was rejected so out of hand completely that I thought, well, what I do, people really hate. I felt like Sally Fields in reverse. So, the next 2 albums, I started writing. I pretend that I was somebody in another band because Dennis sucked. So I had 2 more records, nothing. So 2.5 years later, a guy in Chicago at WLS, which was the most powerful radio station in America, we were going up to you're going to love this story. The Stone Container Building in Chicago, at the top floor was WDAI, which was it was like November 74. Just coming in to make it playing, which would become FM music. We went up there and dropped an album off, Man of Miracles, me and JY, to say, hey, somebody play something. They don't play nothing in Chicago. Nothing. From Chicago. They don't play nothing. So we're going back downstairs. WLS is in the Stone Container Building. Promo guy we're with, let's go leave, just drop an album and leave. They're not going to see us. It's like the Vatican. You need an audience with the Pope to get in there. So we walk in and we say, hi, we're Styx. And why not just drop off this record? And he picks up the phone and she says, Jim Smith would like to talk to you. What? So we go, I'm in WLS. You know what I mean? Sistine Chapel. Are you kidding me? I walk in and then we sit down. And there's a big room and this guy walks in. He says, here's our new album. He says, I'm not going to play anything from that. But tonight at 8:00 on John Records Landecker show, who was the biggest DJ in Chicago, we're going to play Lady. And we're going to play it once a night at 8:00. I think it's a hit.
Yep. I thought Dennis sucked.
So we went home. I was in that house in Park Forest, little 2-bedroom ranch. It's 8:00, and we had a little radio, Motorola, on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen. And I'm looking at my wife. Yeah, I wrote the song about her. So I said, it's not going to happen. This is not going to. 8:00, it played, and we danced to it in the kitchen because there it was. And because of that, anytime something really good happens, my wife and I try to run to a kitchen and dance. But that's what happened. That's why people say to me sometimes, you seem like you're pretty well grounded. Well, because I know conclusively, if that guy doesn't do that, you don't talk to me, Rob. You don't even know who the hell I am. Nobody knows what Lady is or anything else. He did that. And I think to myself, wow. And that's why I'm here. That's your Lady story.
It's incredible. So do you then start to play bigger? What's your first arena show where you're playing an arena? Like, do you go out on tour and support first as this is getting bigger and bigger? Because it's just such a cool story. Like that it took that long for that song, which to this day is still a song that people sing and love and play all the time, and you hear it on the radio all the time when you listen to radio. And does that translate into bigger crowds quickly, or does that take a lot of time?
Just a little bit. Look, what happened was, you want to know why he played the record?
No. Yeah, of course I do. I don't know why.
We couldn't, because we had no record success, we couldn't get a tour, an agency.
Wow.
We were stuck in Chicago playing 2 or 3 times a night at big high school dances.
Wow.
And you know what was going on that we didn't know? Kids would hear us play Lady live. They'd run home and call WLS and request it. It had appeared on WLS's top 10 most requested songs for a year, and they'd never even played it.
Wow.
And Jim Smith said, I have never seen anything like this in my life.
Wow.
That's why he played it.
Mhm.
So, you know, here's the thing. Couldn't get out of Chicago. It was the reason we had success. And then after that, we didn't go, oh, Styx, there they are. Welcome in. And sit down, boys. The kingdom is yours. Bullshit. We had a little, you know, we went and recorded Equinox, great album.
Mhm.
I'm saying it. I'm 73. You don't like it? Go listen to, I don't know, Talking Heads. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's
I love the Talking Heads. Anyway, what I'm saying to you is, no, we finally got out of Chicago. First thing we did, we went down and played with the Doobie Brothers for a couple of shows, but still it was nothing. And then we recorded Equinox, and I thought, this is going to do it, because this album is just wonderful. And then we inched up a little bit. It came so gradually that I never had the problem of getting too much too soon. That was never my problem.
That's good. I mean, well, then it leads you eventually to The Grand Illusion, which, you know, in my opinion, is one of the best records that you guys did. But not only that, and it's weird, I still call it a record, but, you know, it is what it is. But that was one of the best records you guys did. And then you get Come Sail Away off of that. You get Fooling Yourself off of that. But it's also like, that to me is a band firing on all cylinders at that point, both just musically, and I don't know what was going on, you know, behind the scenes, but that's a great record. Like, from beginning to end, you play that record and there's one good song after another. And, you know, Come Sail Away is, first of all, we did a karaoke show and I completely butchered it, and I would never play it for you because it would be just horrible to do. But even a few years ago, I'm singing that song because it's just this thematic type of epic song. I've seen it in, you know, Freaks and Geeks, the television shows. It's in the last scene of the first episode. And I think the reason why that scene hits so hard is because of the song as well. It's just, there's something about the way they did it, because of the slow dance and then he had to dance fast all of a sudden. But it wasn't that. It was that melody that started it. It just pulls at you whether you want it to or not. So Grand Illusion to me is my favorite. So when you get to that point, do you think of that record the same way? Do you think that's the best one?
Oh, there's no question about it. Never been in my mind ever. We did Equinox, great album, and then Gillespie, original guitar player, he quit. And then we had to find somebody because tours booked, and Tommy Shaw came in and took his place. And then we made Crystal Ball with Tommy, which was a transitional album, trying to, you know, when Lady became a hit, I took charge. I said, well, they love Styx too. It's gold. Ladies gold. They like me. And I knew what we needed to do as a band. So I said, well, this is what we're going to do. Equinox, once again, every song, it sounds like I'm bragging. You can look it up. Maybe I am.
You can brag.
Yeah.
Okay. Every song on Equinox, I had a hand in writing except one. And I'm singing, you know, a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a modest, you know, middle. It was not, you know, we went from like, here's let me tell you the numbers. Styx 2 with Lady, 500,000. A lot of albums in 1970, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the next album, Equinox, a better album by far, 350,000 albums. Oh, yeah. Tommy joins Crystal Ball, 285,000. So we're not like, you know, look at these guys, bang to the moon. No. Then Grand Illusion. And I remember standing with my dear friend Tom Short, who's passed, in the control room the night we listened to the whole album, and then Come Sail Away plays at the end of side 1. And I look at him, I said, you know what? If that doesn't do it, nothing will do it. That's what I said. I said, I can't do better than that. If people want better from me than that, they got to look elsewhere. That's how I felt. And what happens? Come sail away. Grand Illusion. Bada boom, boom, boom. 3 million albums. Okay. What happens to Equinox at 350? Well, people discover Styx, particularly on the East Coast. They didn't know anything about us. I heard Lady on the radio, but they don't give a shit. They don't care.
Right.
Suddenly, the whole country cares. I think right now, Equinox is over like 2.75 million albums.
Wow.
And Crystal
you don't realize.
million. Those records were good in real time, but it's a music business. It's not the music, it's the business. If the record company doesn't hit the right cylinder, right, at the right time, you'll get ignored. We had a career of being ignored. Here's the thing that pisses me off. Are you ready? I'm pissed. 1972. Listen to Best Thing. Okay. Pop and rock together. White guy singing Way Too High. Right? That was our style. 1972. The next year, 1973, Queen releases its first album. Do you know how many people think that Queen came before us, and that whatever I look all the things on Mr. Roboto or whatever. You know how many people say on them in the comments on YouTube, I thought Queen did this song. Queen gets credit for all our songs. We get credit for theirs. We were doing, listen, I love Queen. We were doing a very similar thing. Pop, rock, melodic, big high singing, dramatic. But because it took us until 1977 to reach the rest of the world, there's this perception that we were after Queen. We weren't. Do I have a right to be unhappy about that? I don't care. I have a right, because we weren't Queen, but it wasn't like Queen invented that.
Right.
Did you ever meet Freddie and Queen?
One time I got to touch his white pants. Other than that, nothing. Once. I did it quickly, so he didn't.
He didn't notice.
We played a couple of shows together. I never met him. Played a couple of shows together. Here was the bill. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Queen, Styx, in Kansas.
Jeez. Crazy.
Stanley Theater, Pittsburgh, and some other place in Cincinnati. Can you imagine seeing that bill? That was pretty good. So no, I never met them. They're a great band. I love Queen. And the first time I heard them was in 75. I'd never heard them before. And I went, they're good. That's what I thought. But that we had already recorded Equinox when I heard it. So, and let's face it. I remember the first time I heard Bohemian Rhapsody. I heard it and saw it at the same time with the video on Friday Night Videos. Right? Saw it. And I'm sitting there and watching and going, here's what I thought it was over. I went, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Now what?
Yeah.
Wow. What was that? And I thought, well, there's the bar getting higher. But the good news for us is Freddie and the boys, Brian, and they never got even close to that again. You listen, you go to Queen's catalog. That's up here, and everything else is over here. That was like music from God. That piece of music. So anyway, I don't know. I got off on that, but there you go.
No, but it makes sense because people don't realize that just because you're successful doesn't mean you don't look at other successful artists, and you're all fighting for the same audience and you're all fighting for the same record dollar, whether you're not thinking about money or not, and you're all fighting. You want to be the one. I just did Equinox, so I don't want them to go buy Queen. I want them to buy Equinox. I want them to. It's a competition. Like, look, you see guitars behind me. I was in a crummy band years ago, and we would play, and I wouldn't want to see the band after me. I want to see the band before me. Who cares? We're the only band that matters. Let's play and get out of here. That's just. There is a competition there. Of course, in retrospect, you look at all of these bands and you get to appreciate who and what they were and what they did do and what they contributed and what they didn't. But at the time, you're trying to get your piece of the pie just like everybody else. You're trying to you want to be, You want to be, like you said, you want to be loved for what you created. You don't want to hear about Queen. You don't want to hear about me. You know what?
But also the influence that Styx had. I don't know if people know they deserve credit. Like, I mean, they obviously influenced Queen.
I don't think so. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. God bless you. I don't believe that for a minute. I just think we had two bands almost at the same time doing similar things. But the credit goes to them because they were popular before we were. But here's what I did, and I'm glad I did it. Right after I saw Bohemian Rhapsody, I went to Washington, D.C., and demanded that they tighten up on the immigration laws.
And it's finally happening.
It all makes sense.
Get them out.
Get them out.
We don't need none of that.
Yeah, what do we ever get from England? The Beatles? Come on.
43 years later, and it's working.
But but sometimes those rivalries help too. Like there's always, there's that old story about, the Beach Boys and the Beatles are always kind of trying to top one another, and everybody who listened took advantage of that. So I'm sure it fires you up to do something different. And before I get to Kilroy, what happens to you and the band and your life now once Grand Illusion hits? And now you've got Come Sail Away, now you've got Lady, now all of a sudden you've got a catalog of hits. So now you're hitting another level. Does it get harder? Does it get easier? Do you wish it didn't happen? What happens next for all the people who were never in bands and always wish that they were or never had to experience that? I'm sure they see it way differently than it really is. Like, what happens to you then once that moment and that album hits?
Number one, it spawned the next pieces of data. They're all my comment. Illusion was my comment. Which essentially don't believe this. Us up here, we're a Grand Illusion. We're here to entertain you, put on a good show. I said, welcome to the Grand Illusion. Come on in and see what's happening. Pay the price. Get your tickets for the show. The stage is set. The band starts playing. Suddenly your heart is pounding, wishing secretly you were a star. I said, but don't be fooled by the radio. It's us. The TV or the magazines, they'll show you photographs of how your life should be. That's capitalism. That's how it works. But they're just someone else's fantasies. So if you think your life is complete confusion because you never win the game, remember it's a Grand Illusion. And deep inside, we're all the same. Now, if the COVID has taught us one thing, is essentially that human beings, they are all the same. That doesn't mean they all have the same amount of money. But in regards to the universe, it certainly does. So Grand Illusion comes out. I made so much money, kids, in 1 year. All of us. We went like, you know what we found out? Money changes people, not necessarily you. Money and success changes everybody around you. They feel threatened. They're happy for you, sort of. But they fear that you are now waving them goodbye and going somewhere else. Not true. But that's their fear. And I thought, wait a minute, I just did all this because I was taught America spells competition. Join us in our blind ambition and get yourself a brand new motor car. But someday soon we'll stop to ponder what on earth this spell we're under. We made the grade and still we wonder who the hell we are. Yeah. That's what I realized. I did it. I'm there. I looked around. I said, there is no there, and never will be. Not for you, or me, or anybody. If you think your value as a human being is the acquisition of money and fame, you'll be disappointed. Not in everything. It's nice to have money, but what you think it's going to do for you fills the hole. Doesn't, can't. And so, Grand Illusion's a hit. I says to the guys, I had a dream the other night, and there was all these hefty bags. This is true. Why would I lie? Why do I give a shit? Hefty bags filled with money in my house everywhere I looked. Because money is garbage.
Wow, look at that.
And I took that idea and I said, I have been fooled by the radio. So I said, what about the idea? And I wrote the song called Pieces of Eight, which is all about, the woman says in the song, because I envisioned it as a woman saying, we now have everything our soul people seek. But now this emptiness haunts me every day. We seek the lion's share, never knowing why. Come alive, spread your wings and fly. Pieces of eight can't tell you everything. It's the worst. And I said, what do you think of this content? Yeah. So everybody did their own little take, because we all experienced the same thing, where suddenly we're thrust into this position of fame.
Mhm.
And then we did Pieces of Eight, and then that sold another million. This is good for the white guys. It's good.
So, all right. So you mentioned that other people started to think you wanted to go off. Are you talking about within the band? Or are you talking about a larger, are the people around you, your family? Like,
No, yeah, I'm not the band, but everybody thought, oh God, now what? He won't love us anymore. He'll never be around here. He's too good for us. Hey, Mr. Big Shot with all that money, and people, there's that fear. You know, it's the fear of change. Didn't happen.
Any difference in your relationship with Suzanne at that time when it got really big, or was it the opposite? Was she like, yeah,
50 years, baby? No, we're the same kids, Catholic kids. I'm half Italian. Unfortunately, it's the upper half. Half Italian. She's half Italian, and then there's other people involved, but we don't want to talk about it. We were the same background, and so no, she was, the mother of my daughter at the time, and we struggled. And then it happened. I had to convince her. Biggest mistake ever. Lori, pay attention to this.
I'm listening.
Biggest mistake I ever made. I said, you got to stop going to Kmart. Somebody might recognize you. Biggest mistake I ever made. Is there nothing between Kmart and Saks? That's what I want.
Still paying for it. Well, I mean, obviously, like, the money comes in like crazy. So,
Oh my God. I mean, look, I made more, one year I made more money than my dad made his whole fucking life. Excuse me. But that's what it was. It was like, what? Now, and here's the thing. With all the long road I took to become successful, and the way Lady happened, I could never fully feel, oh, I deserve this. I'm entitled to it. It's fair that I should get this. You see, here's what I hate. Can we agree on this? Let's get rid of the word fairness. I want it stricken from the language, and deserve. You don't deserve nothing. Okay? And nothing is fair. Get it through your head. When politicians say, I'm going to reach through it, first of all, fairness means somebody's going to judge it, define it.
Okay.
There's nothing fair in the universe. Okay? Bad things happen to people arbitrarily, nice people, good people, and then wonderful things happen to creeps. Can we agree on this?
Absolutely.
You're not going to get fair deservedness. So stop thinking you will. The moment you understand is you do the best you damn well can, hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
But you also were really smart about your money, whereas other musicians from your era weren't as smart with their money.
I didn't lose all my money to drugs.
But you also had good teams in place, I believe.
I was just I was a very conservative guy and did away with money. I was born in 1947. My parents suffered mightily through the Depression and then World War II. They were poor people. They became middle class because people could still make a decent living, 40s, 50s, 60s, working in factories. But I carried that the roof can fall in at any moment on you in me, because I was taught that, because it had happened to my parents. And I never dismissed it. So I was always very careful. I thought I'd struck gold with my music. I didn't need to strike gold with the stock market. I thought, I've met the people and they don't like, most of them I don't like at all. I said they look like fast talking crooks to me. And like right now, let's look at the stock. Why are we off on this tangent? Okay, look at the stock market. What is that? What? Listen, I talk to people who are very smart people in investment at the biggest places in the country, people I've trusted for a long time. And we all shake our heads and we go like this. What is that? What does that stock market mean? That's you know what that is? That's the grand illusion.
Yeah.
It's people pushing shit around and thinking, well, look at this. There's no end to this. People haven't got jobs. Bad economic things are coming until the smarty pantses in health and science help us out of this. I don't want to sound like I'm hanging creep. We know this. We still need to get through it. But so anyway, I don't know how I got on that. I blame you guys.
It's me. It's my fault.
But all right. So how long do we have with you? Because I mean, I don't want to.
Well, I mean, is this going to be? Is Ken Burns coming in here to make this what's wrong with you guys?
Because I mean, obviously, you know, I want to get to I want to talk about the album, but I also want to get to one of the most important phases of Styx, which was, you know, Kilroy and what eventually.
I'm going to give you some. You know why I'm going to give you some time?
Why?
Because you were prepared. And where the hell am I going?
Probably more the latter than that.
Tomorrow was grocery day.
Oh, Tuesdays.
And you know why? I was a stock boy for 4 years.
Are you really?
Trucks come in Tuesday afternoon with all the fresh produce. That's how it works.
Yeah, so you know.
Tuesday at 2:00, I go in there, I buy the fresh fruit and the vegetables, and that's it. And then I come home and I go like this. Hey, you again? No, she says that to me.
As long as you stay 6 feet away, that's what she wants you to do.
6 feet. Who am I, Gumby?
So, you know,
Are you paying me for this?
Huh?
Are you paying me for this?
No, but you've made it clear you have plenty of money. You don't need that.
Yeah, it's got to be worth it. No, I mean,
I'm giving you some soul.
Entire audience is connected.
We can get you a hefty bag.
Yeah, exactly.
For your money.
Atta girl. By the way, where do people see this?
Oh, so it's everywhere. They can go to and thank you for setting me up for a quick plug. If you're listening for the first time, you can check us out at thewholepodcast.com. Our shows are available on that site, on YouTube, on Twitch, you name it. Also, of course, audio-wise, you can get it anywhere that you get podcasts. But most importantly, just go to our site, thewholepodcast.com. We have a bunch of great interviews, especially this one that's happening right now. And subscribe to us because there's a lot more to come. Dennis is going to come back every week for the next year, and we're going to just really dive until he has some emotional breakthroughs.
People are clicking off as you're talking. But hey, what's new at YouPorn? I don't know. Go ahead.
I do put it up on YouPorn as well. I'm just going to Photoshop your head on some, 22-year-old stallion.
Go right ahead. I don't care.
Yeah. And I'm going to do it with the whole album, the new album in the background. So, if you're going to get a copy,
you got to find these people because you ought to try. Listen, Rob, I tried, some nudity from the ankles down on your show.
A few times we have.
Yeah. You do anything in there? There's a pandemic. Have you heard?
I know. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about next is, we talk about, when you hit that level, you wanted to do something even more grand, and you wanted to not change, but you wanted to grow and mature. With Kilroy, where some of your biggest songs come from, but also was the beginning of the end of you guys together as a band, which to this day, and we'll get into that, I still cannot comprehend how it's not still that way. But what's your mindset going into Kilroy where you decide, is it collective with the band? Do you just say, listen, this is what we need to do next. This is where I think we need to go. How do you approach that record?
1978, we do our first tour of Europe, and I finally get a chance to go to my beloved United Kingdom. And at the time we got there, the punk thing was in its full glory. And we was it 78? I think that tour, Dire Straits opened for us. I think. So they were just coming on the scene. And the press was everything in Europe and in England. Everything. They don't have any radio. They had BBC One. They didn't have choices. So they had to read about the music they should like, which is the most stupid. You know, people who write about music, they can't write about music. What are they? Don't bullshit me. You can't tell somebody about the way something sounds unless you go, sounds like that. But who needs this? So they have a job. So, but they're writing, and they're all, listen, the people in the rock press, they need a story. Tell me about something that's interesting because I can't describe C major chords. They can't.
No.
Okay. They can't describe when I sing on a certain note and a certain song, you cry. Rob, you can't quantify it, right? I can't. Yep. I know sometimes when I sing, I cry thinking, how shitty is that? But not you. So they're writing. These are dinosaurs. This kind of frog, and we hate these people. I hope they die, and their music sucks. When we come back from England, and what's going on? I'm thinking to myself, I think and I had done 8 records that were very similar. Tommy Shaw had only done a couple. My 8th time going through the Shringer with trying to write songs of a certain nature, because you're in a band and you have an expectation of an audience. And I thought, I think prog rock is, it's taking a slow dive to the bottom. That was my belief. And I said, guys, I think with Cornerstone, let's make a transition here. We'll have some stuff that sounds like old Styx, Lights, Borrowed Time, Eddie, Love in the Midnight. But let's try other things. Let's try acoustic instruments. Let's try horns, real string. Let's do something different. Okay. All right. Well, they're going to, I've been pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? I've done okay in terms of, I think, directing the band in certain directions, and they realized that. They weren't stupid. So we went and we did this record. And I had written the song Babe for my wife, which was just a demo I did for her birthday. It was supposed to be a 6 song. I went into the studio that I always wanted a recording because I liked it better than one we were in, only because, hey, the studio, the owners and the people running it and recording, and they were all so high on cocaine all the time. When we did Pieces of 8, the studio was breaking down constantly. There's nobody there to fix it. I just got so pissed. Yeah. Okay. I said, so we went and did this demo. Just me and the Panazzos of the song I was writing not for Styx, for Suzanne. I came back, I listened, crying my knee, that sounds good. So I played it for the guys. It's a good song, it sounds good. And I took them to that studio, Paragon, and we did, Pumpkin. And we did Cornerstone. It was different. Sold over 3 million copies.
Yep.
Changed their style. Sold over 3 million. Had a #1 record. Our first one. Got People's Choice Award. Okay, we changed. And so, okay. And prog rock died. Laurie, Rob, you can look it up. Died. People said, that's enough. So I was emboldened a little bit, but we had some difficulties there because Dennis said we should do this. We weren't all on board, and he had a #1. Nobody likes a guy who's right.
Do you think it bothered them that you just wrote Babe by yourself and it hits #1, even if they don't?
Come Sail Away by myself. No, yes. That wasn't it. Our manager was telling, he was an idiot. Can I say this? I'm going to tell him my opinion. Mismanaged the band. He was telling Dennis that this music is going to kill Styx. You can't do ballads. Look at Chicago. They were a different case entirely, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But that's he was pumping JY and Tommy in their head, blah 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 blah, and then it went to number one, and the albums keep selling.
Yeah.
So it's a really long story. I'm not going to get in. We'll do another interview at another time. You'll give me 50,000, and I'll tell you the whole story.
Fair enough.
Anyway, we make the change, and the Paradise Theater. I have this idea, this big tour, and this big God, and it's the metaphor for the decline of America. This under the guise of this old movie theater, as it's beautiful when it opens, and it goes into urban disrepair. Because in 1980, America was in a shitstorm. You know, we'd gone through the 70s, and every bad thing that could happen happened. Look back. You could Google it.
Yeah, and
Nixon, Watergate, oil embargo, Jimmy Carter, disgrace, the helicopters burned up in the desert trying to get our hostages. And 80 comes along, and there's an election. Here's Jimmy Carter. Here's Ronald Reagan. Jimmy Carter says, I put my sweater on. I'm turning the thermostat down.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan said, it's morning in America. I thought, that's not a choice. So I wrote Paradise Theater. This is a metaphor for where we are in America right now. Crime running rampant. The juxtaposition of rich and poor in cities like New York. I said, this is... We did Paradise Theater. It was a huge success. Our biggest success. Grand Illusion. It's a different record. This is not to address your personal tastes, Rob. It's just a very... Once again, by the time we get to Paradise Theater, art rock is gone, baby.
Yeah, but you've got, I mean, that record has Best of Times, Too Much Time on My Hands. I mean,
song.
Yeah.
Pop, rock band. It's American rock band that does pop music.
Mhm.
So that's what we did. And we weren't doing like the Grand Illusion and having these, classical music flourishes. We were just playing like guys from the Midwest. And huge success. The tour was the biggest tour we ever did. And then these morons, these mooks from Iowa, I think, these brothers, they're burning albums again. Really? Have we not seen this? Oh, backwards satanic masking, Styx. Because of our name, they looked at the names. Oh, they're from hell. Let's include them. And the band who did Babe, they must be Satanists. What? Yeah, because Babe backwards is EBAB, and we know that's the...
help for that.
I mean, it's exasperating. But they're getting some traction, and I end up on Nightline, Bill Donahue, or whatever I'm doing. They're asking me about censorship. Well, So then we go to Japan at the end of Paradise, and we see the Japanese, and they're very polite. I remember 1980, 90, 81, 82, they're running the show, baby. Mm-hmm. Everything, you're turning Japanese, everything was Japanese technology. Yeah. I come back and I get this idea. How can we do something even more stupid than that thing? Let's do something so great.
Right.
I love Pete Townsend. You know what I'm saying? I love Tommy and Quadrophenia and Sgt. Pepper and The Wall.
Too, where the Wall, like Pink Floyd was known for their tours and their shows were getting, so like I saw the redo of The Wall. I have a bootleg of the original concert, and for that time, it's theatrics were in for concerts. People. It
was theatrics with guys that had all the personality of a roll of potatoes.
Right. Yeah.
Pink Floyd said this: "We're not much to look at, but we can be really good when we play. Let's come up with a big thing that surrounds us. Right? How about a wall? At the concert, there being little squares. Oh, this back there, but nonetheless, it was something.
Yeah.
Then the thing comes down and crashes into. Okay. So I want to do that. I like the theatrical. It works well for the kind of band we were. A bunch of show-offs. It's good. So I take this idea of censorship and Japanese technology kicking our ass, and the idea of the whole fundamentalist movement in this country, where a guy can get on TV with his own TV channel and, theoretically the gospel. And there's kind of interference into politics is beginning.
Mhm.
And I kind of put it into a story. And I wrote it and I showed it to the guys, and the guys were, they were impressed and scared. Where's this going? And I tell them my concept, to take film. I thought, okay, what we need to do, we have to get on film because The Wall is a movie. But Tommy's a movie, right? The Beatles are, you got to get on film if you want to go to the next step. So I devised this thing. Well, I write this scenario, and I want there to be like a 12, 15-minute movie before the concert begins, so you can see the backstory. So then we can continue the story live on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not on drugs. And I thought, well, and we'll act. We'll play characters in our own thing. And nobody's ever done that.
Nope.
Maybe now I know why. Nonetheless, so we did it. Some of the guys, everybody was concerned, number one, above everything else. Two things concerned: the acting.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose I secretly held a desire to be a film actor. And I thought I could do it. And but those guys that wasn't their dream. They wanted to be in a rock band and jump up and down at Madison Square Garden. There's nothing wrong with that. So I had a lot of success kids in the band. I'd say, go this way, 3 million albums. Go that way, let's do the Paradise Theater. I was pretty convinced in the nature of what this could be as a live stage performance. I believe this would be like really something to see. And I say, let's write some songs. So we write the songs, we put it all together, and we do it. That was my intention. The story was simple. We have a fundamentalist guy. When I first wrote the character, Righteous, he was more like a Carson with a religious network where he could charm you to death and tell you that the reason America had fallen on hard times, because this is in the future where there's a terrible depression in the United States. Could have been COVID, but I didn't know. So it's financial ruin to the country. And he said this began in 1955 with Elvis Presley and rock and roll music. It's, because he wanted to identify the other, which is what all demagogues do. Hitler said, who was it? We know. They all, your life sucks, Rob, because of those people, because of that thing. And for Dr. Reichers, rock and roll stars and the music ruined the country. So people get desperate. He has a lot of friends in politics. They ban rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And so Kilroy is the band. They're going to play the show despite the warnings. They're not the biggest band in the country. They're just a successful band. And then Dr. Reichers and his Majority for Musical Morality, which was the group, were going to charge in with their stormtroopers and murder one of their own protesters. Okay. It happens. They arrest Kilroy, kid's murdered, and they begin putting rock stars in prison. And the rock stars in prison were all guarded by Japanese robots called robotos.
Yep.
And that was the story. And then along comes, with the film, there's this young character that Tommy plays where he's the rebel, the renegade. I typecasted him. That he's going to bring back rock and roll and get Kilroy out of prison. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? Mm-hmm. That was the story. And we did it. And the show, I'm going to say it right here. I've said it before. It was everything I thought it would be. Nobody ever left that show and didn't go, that was absolutely amazing. Anyone who lies about it is lying, because the show was an overwhelming success as a show. Was Roboto a hard left? Yes.
But it wasn't like the whole, Don't Let It End still has that. I mean, yeah, Roboto's a hard left, but you're going to have songs that are a little different than the rest of your catalog. You don't want to just keep repeating it. I don't know. I can't see why it scared them. But not being there, I can't see why, and it's, you had mentioned that people are lying about, how well the show did. I know that Tommy quit during one of the shows. Is that, he just walked off the stage in the middle of it.
Right.
What was frustrating him?
He played the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
He quit, but he played the show. Excuse me.
He did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
here's
what,
the thing. You know what breaks up bands? Is my head okay? Yeah. Here's what breaks up rock bands. Drugs and alcohol. The only other thing, in second place, somebody sleeping with their wife. Yeah. Other than that, it's drugs and alcohol. It's drugs and alcohol. It's drugs and alcohol. Creative differences? There's creative differences on day one when these goofs get into a room.
Yeah.
Always. That's a given. Everybody's got their own ideas. Everybody's the smartest guy in the room. That's not changing. But when you are so high, your judgment's impaired. Do you ever know anybody that was doing cocaine, kids?
I have. It's not pretty.
No, because they are not themselves. And so what Tommy did, what killed us, was Tommy quit the band to pursue a solo career. That's what happened. And by his own admission, he was abusing drugs and alcohol. He rehabbed. He got better. God bless him. And I told him so. Proud of him, but not at that time. And so he wanted to be a solo artist, and he quit the band. And so the four of us, we went, how do you quit Styx? This is the dream of every guy who plugs in an amplifier.
Yeah.
The success we had. But he did it. And the four of us went, and I just went like this when that happened. JY, Tommy, and JY, John, and Chuck, they wanted me to replace Tommy immediately because we had booked a stadium tour, a greatest hits live album stadium tour for '84. And they said, just replace him. To heck with him. I went, wait a minute. Replace Tommy Shaw? Huh? I felt it displayed an incredible lack of self-awareness of how the band actually worked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to go out there and bring some guy in and have people go, wait, you stupids, who needs this? I said, let him go out and do a solo album. I said, he'll come back. So that's what happened, my friend.
So you wanted to wait. You just said, when you canceled. So you canceled the rest of the tour.
There was no tour booked. We did all of Kilroy completely. We completed it as it was booked. We had a setback because Tommy was so, after he quit, we took a break like a month later for 4th of July, and he went out to his condo in Palm Springs, and he'd forgotten his keys. So he was going to break into his condo by wrapping his coat and his jacket around his arm and break in through a sliding glass door. Got the tendons, and there was some doubt whether he'd play guitar again. So we had to cancel like 6-7 weeks.
Yeah. I commend you for the waiting part. I'll tell you why too. When you told me that, I remember I had tickets to the Who, right? And it's the Who as the three of them at the time. It's not that long ago. So I buy tickets to the Who. I'm so excited. I've never seen the Who. I can't wait. Entwistle dies, right? Oh, wow. That's horrible. I'll never get to see them. A week later, concert's still going to be on. And I don't know how I felt about that. Like, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll go. And it was fun. And, you know, Pino Palladino's a great bass player and all. But it was a month after he died that they're on the stage without him. And that to me was strange to me. It just reeked of the Who Incorporated and not just, you know, maybe we don't do these shows, maybe we chill. And I can't speak for why they did it. Maybe it was the opposite. Maybe Entwistle was the kind of guy that said, you got to go out there no matter. I don't know that. But it took a lot to not replace him on your part. Like, that's a people first move. It's, you know, it wasn't about the money, it wasn't about the shows. You wanted to give Tommy the time, and I respect that.
Oh, thank you. But let me just bring us back to reality. In every band, some guys are more replaceable than others. You're not going to replace Brian. You're not going to replace Freddie. You're not going to replace Mick. You're not going to replace Keith, John, or Paul, Pete, or Roger. Great bass player, Entwistle. Great. And I'm sorry. Wake up, kids. Open your big eyes.
Yeah.
Daltrey and Townsend are still there. They're
Yep.
still there now.
Mhm.
Okay, the other guys are great, but you usually have two guys in a band. Is it Waters? Is it Gilmore? And the other two. This is how I look at it. Can I say it?
Right.
All right.
Mhm.
Styx,
Yeah.
It's DeYoung and Shaw, and the other guy makes a band.
Yeah.
Don't replace Tommy. Don't replace Dennis. This is what I believe. Okay,
Right.
and I'm going to pull on my drawstrings right now. Make it
Yeah, makes sense. So, you know, you didn't think, you know, you didn't know how this could go forward without him anyway. But so you give him the time, and, you know, what I'm a little unclear on is how they wind up doing it without you all of a sudden. I know he did Mr. Big, and there was this other phase that they all went. The damn Yankees, rather. Sorry. So he does that, but how do they get back together without you? It just doesn't make any logical sense. Do they call you? Is there a discussion that is going to happen? Do you just find out? Like, how does that happen?
Well, there's a story. Let me see if I can speak real quick. I waited for Tommy. He made 3 solo albums. And when he was ready, he called me. He was ready in 1987, at the end of 87. And said he wanted to talk about getting the band. I was in the throes of making my last solo album for MCA Records. They just spent, swear to God, $500,000 to do that record because they spent $250 on the doggone video.
Yeah.
And I had a commitment to them, and I said, listen, just let this record come out, and we'll do it. And then the guys who did my video took the video to Australia and worked on it for 6 months, the son of a bitch, delaying the album. So during that time, Tommy called me and said he had an opportunity. John Kolodner was going to hook him up with Ted Nugent and Jeff Blades to do some demos. He said, what do you think? I said, well, I can't stop you from doing demos. Well, he did them. They got a deal, and he called me back and said, I'm going to go with this.
Hmm.
There you go. And so 2 years later, all the original members, Tommy, got together and did Edge of the Century. Brought a new guy in, Birdnick, because it was clear to me that I'm going to with damn Yankees. And I was not going to wait anymore because it was not getting any over. We did that record, Show Me the Way, went to number 3, and it was a gold album. But it wasn't the same. I knew it wouldn't be the same without Tommy. So after that, I said, hey, grunge came in, buddy. 1992, couldn't get a record deal.
Yeah, wow.
So I said, I've had it. I'm not going to do this. And then in 95, A&M wanted to do a greatest hits package. And they came to me and they said, well, they wanted to get Lady on there. Wooden Nickel, the record company the label it was on, wouldn't give it to us. Ignorant. So I decided, well, let's re-record it with Tommy since he wasn't on it. I called Tommy, and we got together at my house, a studio, and we recorded Lady. It was joyous. And then we went on Regis and Kathy Lee and the Today Show, and the three of us played acoustically. And promoters everywhere went, doing, let's get those guys. We got back together and had incredibly successful return to 96 and 97. It was like we never went away. Okay, so 97, we planned the 96 tour. It was incredible. I never thought I'd see it again. We saw it again. And then 97, we were supposed to make our first studio album and then tour in 98. In 97, I got a call late 96 from the manager of Styx at the time, asking me if I would do some shows in 97 because while Tommy was off in Damn Yankees, I started, and I was not in Styx. I was in Styx, but I was not participating. We weren't doing anything. I took a job playing Pontius Pilate and Jesus Superstar.
Right.
I was a hit. So,
but you said you always wanted to try acting, and that's part.
So Danny Goldberg said, "You want to make an album for Atlantic of Broadway music?" I said, "Sure." I did it, and then I wrote this musical based on The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I was working on it, never knowing that Tommy was going to come back to the band, and then the planned premiere of the musical was 1997. Okay, you with me so far?
I'm with you.
We had been working on it all this time. The producers put in $750,000 into this venture. And 97 was supposed to be the premiere in Nashville. Oh, Tommy Shaw shows up. 96, big tour. 97, and they all knew I had this commitment. And then so the manager of Styx says, "You tour in 97. And I said, "Well, what about the studio album?" He said, "Well, put it on hold."
Hey.
And because Tommy Shaw he has a cash flow problem. Those are the exact words. A cash flow problem. I said, "Oh, got to help him out." I said, "Yeah, we'll see how we can squeeze it in here. We'll do the live album. I'll produce it, and then I'll do the Hunchback, and then the thing will do 40 shows. Money comes in, and in September I'll do the Hunchback." So we did. I worked myself to death in 97 to complete all those tasks, and then we did it. And in January of 98, I got sick. I went to my sister-in-law's funeral in LA with my wife, and we both got the flu or whatever it was. You people who have the cooties of COVID, I don't know what I got. She got it with me. She got better in 3 weeks. I could not get better. I don't know. I was like, I was hit by a Mack truck.
Wow.
I kept going to doctor. And what? You can see I'm a type A personality. I was type Z. I didn't want to get out of bed. I couldn't move. I'd have all these symptoms. I go to all these doctors. Please tell me what's wrong with me. Nobody knows. So I sit basically for almost a year. And the guys are anxious to get back to touring.
Right.
And so Tommy and Jay White, they send me some demos, and I hear these demos. Oh, God, these are good songs. And I'm just so sick. I said, "Okay, I'll try. I'll do some work in my studio." We're making an album. And then we're working on an album, about a little over half of it done. And the manager, we call a meeting, and they come in and they say, "Dennis, we want to book a tour for the end of 99, February 99. And I just said, I just figured out why. I'm here. I'm not here. What changed? Anyway, give me another 6 months. I just figured out I was light sensitive. The virus had done something to my eyes, and they would not filter out the light anymore the proper way. And and the light was causing the fatigue.
Wow.
Took me a year and a half to figure it out.
Ugh.
Said, guys, just give me another 6 months. I'll be ready to go. And they didn't want to wait. They replaced me. That's what happened. Any other story you hear is a lie and is not true. They didn't replace me because of Kilroy, something that happened 20 some odd years earlier, or because I'd written Babe. There was no, we did 2 successful tours in 99, 96 and 7. Nobody mentioned Roboto or Babe ever. We played Babe on stage. But they went on behind the music and just, they tore me down both personally and professionally. And then they just took the name and they went out and started touring without me. That is exactly what happened. Any other story is not true.
That has to hurt, man, because, I remember that behind the music, and the moment that always stays with me, and I think Suzanne says that, there are times where you say, oh, wow, honey, look at this. We're on TV or we're here. And she has to remind you that you're not with them anymore from time to time because you were still so attached to it and almost was just waiting for that to blow over. But even if they had to do it and replace you for 6 months, they can't come back to you after 6 months. It makes me wonder if money has a lot more to do with it. Splitting it 2 ways instead of 3 ways. Right. It's gotta be.
One thing, JY offered me the ability to come back and play a show here and then go home. He did offer me that. And you know what I thought? Is this selfish? I don't want anybody to be in my place. Not for seconds. I formed the band in 1962 in my basement, which, by the way, is the title of 26 East. Mm-hmm. That's the house, parents' basement, where John and Chuck and I formed the band, 3 little Italian kids in 1962. Can you just give me some time? I just helped Tommy Shaw out.
And brought him into the band to begin with.
AY too. I hired them. They were looking for work. I brought them in. It was my decision. So I thought, was I hurt? Come on.
Sure.
And so, but you know what? To this day, I'm ready to go back to one more tour because the fans deserve to see it. That's all I'm going to say. Let's talk about my album.
All right, you got it. I agree with you 100%. And I always say that. It's like, how can they, not just you, but there's a lot of bands like that. Why can't they just be nice? I don't care if you take separate trailers, like do a tour for the fans, but I get there's a lot more to it than that. But to get onto this 26 East Volume 1, I mentioned very early in the beginning of this that, it has your stamp all over this. But, one of the cool things is you brought Julian Lennon in for a track to the Good Old Days, which is a really great song. And the video, which I'll play it at the end. I don't know if I'm allowed to play it in the show. Yeah,
I'm giving you permission. Who's going to come?
Okay, well, the YouTube beasts come and take me, but I'm going to play this at the end of the episode. I'll even play With All Due Respect at some point during as well, because I think that's a great song that speaks a lot to right now. But I love the Good Old Days video with Julian Lennon because there's so much great personal home footage that you have that you put into that. Just you and Suzanne really early and such great stuff. And, how do you wind up connecting with Julian?
26 East, where it began, so shall it end. From the beginning. Had it not have been for the Beatles, I may never have been a musician. I saw him on Ed Sullivan. I thought, all right, that looks like a good job. So I'm going to write a tribute to the Beatles on the record. I write this song. I said, who can sing it with me? A 2-part harmony song like John and Paul. And I think, I wonder if Julian Lennon would do it. So I'm about to send him a letter because I don't know him. Never met him. And then I realized the song I had written was really not a song he should sing. So I went to the piano. I wrote To the Good Old Days specifically for he and I to sing together. I knew his voice. I was a fan. I'd heard a lot. It was a big record at the same time Desert Moon was.
Yeah.
So I did a demo. I wrote To the Good Old Days. I sent him a piano demo. It was a miracle. I got a response. He said,
That's awesome.
he said he'd be honored to do it. That's a quote.
Yeah.
I went, okay. and we met in New York and we did it. And it's there's nothing I like better on the album, and I don't care if nobody else likes it. They can all go jump off a pier. I don't give a shit.
I think it's great.
Myself and what it meant to me personally, and that's the reason to do music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to try to please you or anybody else. I'm here to please me, not first and foremost, because I'm willing to roll the bones on this is what I want to do, and I hope you come along for the ride. I'm not here to say I'm going to try to fill some need you have. Although, in all honesty, I did have the glory days of Styx in mind, some of the music on this record. Because after all these years, I think I can say to myself, can I write that kind of music? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I did.
Yeah. So when you're looking back on all that footage too, it had to bring back some, it's weird because when you're living through those moments, it's almost so fast that you don't realize it until later when you look back and see everything. We started very early on where, you were saying, putting yourself down or, weren't good enough or whatever. I mean, now when you look back, are you like, you know what? I did pretty good. I did a great job with this band, and I did what I wanted to do on my own terms.
Yeah. It's never on your own terms because, quite frankly, what made the debate was it was a band. It wasn't me. I was kind of like, I was the director on the Love Boat. Maybe I don't know if I was Captain Stubing. Maybe I was, Gopher. I don't know. But I said, I think that's a good idea. And then if it was successful, this is a good thing. But the sound of those records was a tribute to the people who played them, who came up with the ideas. We helped each other. This is what bands are for. The fact that it has devolved into who's more important, Dennis or Tommy, I hate it. Because that's the point of a group. We all know some members are more important than others, but really it's the collective sound, the magic that those people create when they come together. So, I can look back and say, we did good. As I say on the album, when I thank the guys, I said, boys, we did good. The proof is there. History will, I think, be pretty kind to us that we didn't suck.
Completely agree. And then, it's funny because there's that retrospective, but at the same time, on the album, you have a song called With All Due Respect, where you're clearly pissed off and, pissed off at the media. And it comes through loud and clear. I even like the video where you have tons of people, calling people an asshole, and you got a whole bunch of people in the video, and it's a great video. But you can see that you're still using music to express what you're annoyed about or to express what you're feeling, and not just writing for somebody else. You can see that you're very passionate about that.
I think if you're not pissed off right now, you're brain dead.
Yeah,
we got to be. We have to recognize just how dangerous these times are. Not just the COVID, but I don't think anyone should take for granted fragility of both our country and civilization in general. I've always said civilization to me is 5,000 miles wide and 2 inches deep. And if you poke the hole at the right point, very bad things can happen. And I think we're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
The COVID has just made it nearly unmanageable. But I'm really angry at the news business in this country, because it's not news. It's devolved into a cash-making cow, whereby it becomes entertainment to pit in typical theatrical ways antagonists, protagonists, this side, that side, these fanatics, these mooks, these assholes, and make them bash against each other just to get people to click eyeballs, listening on radio, because if you just tell the news, you know, so they go on and they pretend they're telling you news, and it's nothing more than opinion. That's a critical danger to our democracy, because people don't have the time in their lives to sit around and think the big things like I do. I get paid to think stuff and write about it. But most people are just trying to pay the rent, put food on the table for people, so they can, quite frankly, be swayed by people who have an agenda politically. Mm-hmm. And these people are arms of political parties. That's so wrong, because it takes the idea of facts, which is getting so difficult for all of us to judge anymore. Let's face it, the internet. Remember Mark Zuckerberg? I think he's a rapper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He had this idea of how to get better looking girls, and now it's Facebook.
Yeah.
And he said his goal was to connect everyone. I thought, you little child, have you met everyone?
Right. So true.
Why would you want to connect them? It used to be if you had an opinion, you had to pass muster. You had to go through an editorial staff. You had to earn your right to shoot out your big mouth. Now the internet has made every person who used to go into the tavern and say these stupid things, it's given them a public forum.
Yep.
That's good for humanity. Mark my words. It's not good for humanity. And the worst part, if you go into a tavern and you spout off some crap, two people in the bar might say, I'm going to punch your nose, because they can see who you are.
Right.
Now, it's all anonymity. You want to fix the internet? Here's how you fix social media. Make sure everybody has to put the real name down there. And perhaps address and phone number. That might be too far, but don't you dare say these things in an anonymous way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's not how civilization works. It's the punch in the nose factor that keeps people honest. It's the fact that they have to defend their stupidity. Not no more. Talk, yada, yada, blah, blah, woof, woof.
Yep.
Shut up.
It's so true. And then, I love the edge to the song, and I love the attitude. And then, it's the second track on the record, but it comes off, it's just really just explodes when you hit to that point. And I can't thank you enough for spending 2 hours with us. It means a lot. And I want everyone who is listening to this to go check out 26 East. It's a great record. If you're a fan of Styx, if you're a fan of Dennis, at any point, this is definitely delivers from beginning to end. And I'm so happy I didn't give away how it ends, because it's a great ending. And Dennis, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. And I hope when Volume 2 comes out, maybe 10 minutes. I won't ask for another 2 hours for sure, but you're welcome to come back.
Idiot, Sprant. I'm out. No,
well,
cut the short. Your prostate's killing you.
Well, if you can, before we go, if you could just give us a really quick ID, and then I will leave you alone for eternity.
or a week.
Hey, it's Dennis DeYoung. Remember me? I used to be a lady. That guy. Yep. That probably distorted the whole microphone. But let me just say this to you. You're watching The Hole. What's down there? It's very dark. You're watching The Hole, listening to The Hole. These people, they do their homework. They seem like nice people. I'll know later when I have dinner. But right now, they do a great show, and they made me talk for 2 hours, and they paid me bupkis.
Dennis, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Good luck to you with everything, and I really do hope that I'm sitting 15 rows back and watch that final Styx tour, because I'll be there.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks again.
Thanks, Dennis. Bye.
Come on, Matthew, sit in the front. Can you get us all in, George?
Let's get a wide one. Okay.
Wait a second. We have to pause for a second. We reflect on how we looked.
We're going to be late.
Suzanne, 15 minutes. Well, we just like to say thank you very much for showing up here today. And this is 1985. 1985.
It's so hard to say goodbye, so I promise not to cry. But any tears that might be shed are only tears of joy. And I thank my lucky stars that we've come so very far, rising up against the odds to where we are today. Though there may be sadness, let's all raise a glass, cheers to us and all that's past, to the good old days when the world was new, when we still believed dreams could come true. To the good old days and to all our friends, may the memories last, may they never end. So we'll go our several ways, wishing somehow we could stay safe again, so safe again, in all our innocence, when we all would sing along as they played our favorite song, dreaming of tomorrows that seem so limitless. So as we come together, let's make this moment last. Here's to us,
Yeah, here's to us.
and to the past, to the good old days, to the sweetest years, to the ones we love, through the laughs and tears, through the times ahead, may we all forgive. To the good old days, long may they live. Funny how the years have slipped away, always there beyond our grasp. Funny how it all seems looking back. Oh, oh.
Mr. Dennis DeYoung.
See everybody's face in there? We all in there? Everyone smile. Let's say hi, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
To the good old days when we all were young, to the love we shared, may our songs be sung. To the times ahead, may we all forgive. To the good old days, may they always live. And so, my friends, I'll say goodbye, for time has claimed its prize. But the music never dies. Just listen and close your eyes. And welcome to paradise.